The Boston housing market is still on fire. We've seen listings sell for over $100,000 above list price. The median single-family home is more expensive than ever, and the rental market is starting to heat back up. And Worcester, Massachusetts was listed the third most competitive market in the United States, coming behind two cities from California. So in this video, I'm going to give an update on the Boston housing market and the latest numbers. So now let's get right into the data. The Boston housing market has had a crazy spring. However, now it's starting to get back to a more normal level. But it's just going to be a much more expensive normal level. As single-family homes and condos hit record new highs, new listings are starting to inch back up. It's expected that the housing market is going to start to cool down and become less competitive, and the increase in prices will start to slow down for the remainder of 2021. But this doesn't mean the competitive housing market is quite over yet. In fact, in the 64 Boston cities and towns, the median price of a single-family home reached $811,000. This is 19% higher than the year prior. We also saw condos soar as well, rising by 9% to $644,000. These are both record high prices, which shows how much the pandemic has inflated prices across the country and locally. We've also seen sales volume increase above pre-pandemic levels. Sales of single-family homes have risen by 14% compared to 2 years prior. And condo sales have soared by 27% over 2 years prior in June. And this is a record new high for the month in Boston. However, these pricing trends are not just confined to Boston. Prices and sales volume is up across the entire state of Massachusetts. In June, the median price for a single-family home across the state reached $555,000, and the median price for a condo reached $489,000. So the entirety of Massachusetts is becoming more expensive to live. And as I alluded to in my intro, the median price of a single-family home in Boston at $811,000, that would be a mortgage payment with 20% down at about $8,500 per month. So this comes out to a six-figure mortgage payment every single year just to live in Boston. And in many parts of Massachusetts, it's not even much cheaper to live than that. And prices are only getting more crazy as the years go on. And the COVID pandemic certainly didn't help with this. And if we take a look at how much homes are selling for right now, in May, more than 5% of homes sold for $100,000 or more above asking price. In June, we saw at least 30 homes in Boston sell for $200,000 or more above asking price. And we saw more than 60 homes sell for more than $100,000 over asking. And since the beginning of 2021 until May, we've seen about 1,100 homes sell for $100,000 or more above list price. And this is what helped Boston rank in the top 10 for above list price sales. And with the numbers that I just went through, it's probably not a surprise that the most demand has been for homes in the high six figures and above. About 14% of homes in Boston sold for more than $1 million. And overall, about 72% of homes in Boston sold above list price. And this is significantly higher than the national average of 56%. And as I've mentioned time and time again in my national videos, Boston has been seeing a lot of increase in prices due to supply and demand. Even before the pandemic, demand was already increasing steadily. We've seen 250,000 new jobs come to Boston recently. And even though we've seen a lot of people moving to Boston, we haven't seen a lot of new construction coming to Boston. The number of new homes has remained nearly even since then. So this means supply is staying the same while demand is skyrocketing, which if you know anything about the laws of supply and demand, that's only going to increase prices. And if you've watched any of my videos, I've mentioned time and time again that nationally we're more than 6 million homes below demand. And this gap has gotten bigger every year since 2012. And it could take decades of record-breaking building rates just to catch up. And it's no surprise that Massachusetts is becoming one of the nation's most expensive housing markets. And it's really showing how wealthy the Boston area is becoming. See, there are a lot of startups and a lot of companies that are going public in the Boston area, and this is making a lot of residents very wealthy. And it's also attracting a lot of high-paying jobs as well. And if you've been to the Boston area recently, you've probably seen the luxury condos and luxury office buildings that are going up all over the city. But it's not just Boston that's seeing serious growth in Massachusetts. Worcester, Massachusetts was the third most competitive housing market in the country. country. This is with more than 78% of homes selling above list price, coming behind Oakland, California at 85% and San Jose at 80%. According to Redfin, we've seen the median sales price of all homes increase by 30% year over year. This comes from over 200 homes sold, which is 50% higher than last year. And the average house was only on the market for 19 days. This is down by 7% over last year. The sales to list price was 106%, which means the sales price was 6% over the list price on average. At the beginning of 2021, we saw this number at only 2.8% above list price. And at the beginning of 2021, we saw that only 2.8% of homes had a price drop. This is down significantly from January of 2019 when this number was nearly 15%. But as of this June, we've seen this number inch up to 6.7% of homes having a price drop during their listing. And as we see price drops occurring more and more, this just shows that the housing market is starting to cool down and become less competitive, and it shows that buyers are not willing to pay the insane prices that people are listing their homes at today. And that could be a good sign for the housing market going forward for the rest of this year and going into next year. And now let's wrap this up with the rental market. Based on a quarterly report that was released this month, it found that 38% of people looking to rent in Boston live outside of Boston. So this means that more people are looking to move into the city. They also on average have 7% more money to spend than the current residents do, so they can afford paying a higher rent price. Nationally, we've been seeing rental prices increase significantly. Rents are up 4.4% from last month alone. This is in large part due to the rental market playing catch up with the housing market. With the housing market exploding so rapidly in the last year, the rental market was left behind when rents on average dropped significantly during the pandemic. But now they're making a comeback. And rising rent prices was inevitable because of rising housing prices. Between July 5th and July 12th, the number of apartments for rent in Boston went from 6,091 to 5,336. And if this rate continues, then we'll definitely see apartments becoming more expensive as time goes on. Because overall, rents are still lower than they were a year prior in Boston, but they are recovering at a quick rate. The number of vacant apartments is similar to the number from 2019. So as a whole, the rental market is getting back to how it was before the pandemic, which I'm not sure if that's a great thing given how competitive the rental market was before. So anyways, that's my update for the Boston housing market. Check back Monday for my latest national housing market update video. Thanks for watching and see you next time.